Hello there, and welcome to the I Never Knew podcast, also known as Inc. This show dives into the life experiences of people who have been through it all and have come through the other side stronger, better, and triumphant. Each story is raw, authentic, and, at times, heartbreaking. One thing joins it all together, the fact that the stories can help the listener learn and grow. Hosted by life coach Maureen, she sits down each episode with a new guest who will empower the listener to set out on their self-discovery journey and start to heal. Now you'll be joined by Maureen and her special guest. Please enjoy the show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of I Never Knew, Inc. by Maureen Scanlon, life coach Maureen. I am so happy to be here with you guys once again with another wonderful guest. I'm so excited to talk to our next guest. Her name is Urmi Hossain, and she's a female working in the financial industry. She considers herself Italian by birth, Bengali by blood, and Canadian by law, which I thought was such an interesting way to describe herself. So I love how she's multicultural in her view. She has an educational background in finance. In her free time, she likes to volunteer, support causes related to women's empowerment. For her, feminism means the freedom to choose. She also has her own blog and YouTube channel, and one day hopes to have her own podcast as well. Her podcast or her blog is called My Ways, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that a little further into the episode. So welcome, Urmi. How are you?
I'm good, and you?
I am doing wonderful. I know it's much later by you right now than it is by me. So thank you for staying up and joining us today. I'm excited to hear your story.
Thank you. So am I, but it's really early for me to go to bed. It's only 9 o'clock. I usually go to bed at midnight. So
Oh, so you're a night owl anyway. Yeah. And when you get older, like my age, 9 o'clock, that's about our cutoff. But so enjoy the youth. But this is going to be a great podcast. And I'm so pleased that you reached out to tell us about yourself. So I want to ask you my first question that's really stuck out to me when I send my questionnaires is that you describe yourself as a female working in the financial industry. So is that a struggle for you? Is it something that's unique, you think?
yes, I do think it's very, very unique. And that's why I always like to highlight that I'm a female working in the financial industry because I come with a background of finance. And when I was in university, I started to realize that even at school, the finance major, it was mainly men dominated. And I remember going to classes and just seeing a lot of guys and not seeing that many girls majoring in finance. And at the beginning, I thought it was normal. Probably, it was just preference. People women prefer to take certain majors versus men or things like that. Like I never felt it was about stereotypes. But then when I started to work in the financial industry, I just felt like it was just more highlighted that we have more men working in the financial industry. And I feel like it's still a little bit of a struggle, especially in finance. If you're a woman, if you want to go up the ladder, if you want to get a promotion, if you want to make yourself heard, and if you want to implement changes, sometimes it's really, really hard, especially when the industry or companies are very, very much men dominated. So when I say like I'm a female in the financial industry, I just feel like I'm setting an example for other women as well, and that it's anything is possible, and you don't have to go away from this industry. You just have to set yourself as an example so that other women can follow your path. And so I do go very much proud about it because we do need more women in finance and more women in like leadership roles.
I love that. I love that. Being a trailblazer. It's so hard to think in 2022 we still have this glass ceiling for women. And I know my husband is an engineer and he graduated from engineering school, oh boy, 30 something, over 30 years ago. And he said there were no women, at all in his class. So when you said that about the finance, I thought, wow, we're not much further along, 30 years later. So I'm so proud of the women that do this, that say, I'm going to do something daring and I'm going to do something that's going to change things for the women who come after me. And that
Mm-hmm.
and that's one of the things that I saw when I was looking at, there was an article that you had done, and one of the things you talked about is how you love to teach women and empower women about financial success. Can you tell us how you do that? Do you hold courses for them? How do you teach? I think young women need to know that. I think women in marriages that don't handle finances need that. How do you do that?
So I mainly do that through volunteering activities. So basically, I volunteered and I still volunteer in a couple of nonprofit organizations where I had the chance to write articles. So last year, for instance, I was involved in a project where I had to write financial articles that were targeting parents that had girls, that had daughters, and I basically wrote like a couple of articles, and I was just teaching through these articles to parents what you need to teach your daughters. And I did that for this particular organization called Pink Space Theory, and then I did it for this other organization called My Soli, which is an organization that helps preventing child marriages for girls that are in Bangladesh. And even there, I wrote an article that was basically dedicated to these girls. And I also do this sort of like empowerment, like I sort of try to empower women also through mentorship. So there are a couple of organizations where I mentor women that just want to have a little bit of guidance, which is not just about finance, but also like career and other things in life, like how to become a bit more confident, how to increase their self-esteem. So I try to share a little bit my own experience. I try to share things that I know, especially about finance, how ways that you can, improve your finances, or where you can develop yourself, such as public speaking or launching your own YouTube channel. So I do that pretty much through volunteering activities. And then, as you mentioned earlier, I also have my blog. So my blog is mainly like targeting women and girls so that they can learn a little bit from my experience, but it's really much open to anyone. And I created the blog for this purpose, that it can be exposed to a bigger audience, and not just women but everyone internationally, including all the genders.
Yes, I love that. And guys, if you want to find her blog, it's myways.ca. So myways.ca. And I have to tell you, some of the articles are so neat. One of them that I saw on here as I was looking at your blog is the do's and don'ts of a toast. And I
Oh.
I thought that was so cool because I get tongue tied when I do a toast. So tell us a little bit of, what you say in that blog about what are the do's and don'ts of giving a toast.
Yeah, so there are many things when it comes to giving a toast, because one of the things that I do is I'm part of the what do you call it? It's called about I'm part of this public speaking club called Toastmasters.
Yes.
And for anyone who's not aware what it is, it's just a nonprofit organization where you get to practice your public speaking skills. And each week we have to give a toast. So one of the things that they always tell us when someone is like giving a toast, but it's not technically giving a proper toast, is that you first thing that you want to do is, let's say you're giving a toast at a wedding or some sort of other events. You want to make sure that you are grabbing like someone's attention. So you want to take a glass and take your spoon or knife and just raise everyone's attention. And you want to make sure that you have a story to tell about the person that you're toasting to. And you want to make sure that the toast is not, usually you want to make sure that it's not too long. It's about that particular person that you're toasting to. And you want to make eye contact. You know, you want to make sure that you're looking at everyone in the audience. You want to make sure that it's not just about you. You want to have good examples, and you want to also make it a little bit humoristic, so that you know, ease up the ambience, the environment in that particular moment. And when you finish up the toast, you want to make sure that you ask everyone to raise, to stand up, and to toast for that particular person that you are celebrating today. So that's what you do in a nutshell. I mean, we can go a little bit more detail, but in a nutshell, that's what you want to do. You want to toast to that particular person because we're celebrating that person. And when it comes to giving a toast, it's really just about practice, like anything in life, especially when you're like giving a presentation, especially when it's your first time. You want to make sure that you're practicing a couple of times. And also you want to make sure that you're not breathing off a toast, because sometimes it's important to have an eye contact with your audience. You want to make sure that, you know, people are not falling asleep. You want to make sure that people are actually paying attention to you. And you also want to make sure about the level of your voice and the pace. You don't want to go too fast. You know, you don't want to go too slow either. And you want to make sure that you're loud enough that everyone hears you properly. And also, of course, there is the body gestures, and that you want to make sure that it's synchronized with whatever you're saying. So I would say that's in a nutshell when it comes to giving a toast.
I think that's wonderful. And if anyone has ever done any public speaking or taken any courses, I'm currently doing that as well. So to sum it up, here's the steps. She says to make sure you get everybody's attention, then you tell a story, make eye contact, have some humor, and then end it asking them for some action. So it's kind of the same when you do public speaking. Whether it's a toast or you're giving a speech, you want to have these certain elements in it. So I love that. I just thought that was a really great topic for a blog. So, of course, you know, my podcast is I Never Knew. And we talk about struggles, things that were hard. I love talking about success, don't get me wrong. But what I love to help my listeners with is it's finding out how successful people started and what their struggles were and how they relate to people that have had those struggles and then how they overcame. So I know we all had some issues during pandemic. We were losing jobs, we were losing loved ones, we were losing our homes. And so one of the things that Urmi went through is that she felt hopeless and she was looking for a job during the pandemic. So tell us about that.
Yes. So, like everyone else, I was also looking for a job during the pandemic because I had the chance to reflect a little bit about my career. And it's been a while that I've been in my previous company. So, what happened is I started the process, I would say, a year later, after the pandemic, because during the pandemic, I was worried of looking for a job. I always had that voice like in the back of my mind saying that, you know, it's not a safe time to change a job because everyone, you know, people are getting fired, people are losing jobs. So I was like, you know what, I'm in a safe place, I'm going to stay where I am. But after a year, so basically during the second year of the pandemic, I was like, I'm going to start looking actively for something else, because I think I need a change. And I remember getting calls for interviews. So I was getting like a lot of calls during the week. I would get like three calls. I would get on the first round. I would get on the second round of interviews. But then when I would get into the second or third round, I would get rejected. And sometimes I would get rejected at the first shot. Sometimes I would get rejected at the last shot. And I remember that I could not understand why I was getting rejected, because I felt like my resume was good. I felt I had good skills, I had good experience, good knowledge in the industry, but I was always getting rejected. And then there were jobs that maybe they really liked me, but I didn't like them. So then it was me rejecting them.
Yeah.
And this went on for a year, and it was very, very exhausting, because I was like, I can't, like, how long is it gonna take me to find a job? And then pretty recently, I was like, you know what, I'm not going to give up. I'm still going to look, and hopefully something will show up. And I'm a very like persistent person. I have a very tenacious personality. So I was like, you know what? I'm I'm a warrior. I'm gonna make sure that I get a job. And then after a couple of weeks, I had a couple of interviews and I just ended up having 3 job offers. And so they all came at the same time, and it was a very, very tough decision for me to take, because it never really happened that I was getting 3 job offers from 3 great companies. And I was struggling a lot, like really, really struggling. And I remember talking to many of my close friends and asking them for advice. I tried to do some pros and cons. I tried to do some research, and even then I was not able to come up with an answer. And then one of my closest friends, she gave me an advice, and she was like, choose the job that will bring you closer to your true self. And that's how I pretty much tried to like make the decision. And then I finally made the decision, and I chose that particular job and rejected the other 2.
I love that. So you start off saying rejection. Rejection is hard, and whether it's when we're dating, because if
Mm-hmm.
anyone has been out there in the dating world, it's reject, you get rejected or you reject people. And you said something really great. You said it's exhausting. It
Mm-hmm.
is. You're putting so much energy and our emotional energy of I really want this thing. I really hope this works out. I have expectations. And so it really takes a toll on us, and especially you doing this for a year. But the one thread I have found throughout all of my episodes and all of my interviews and anyone that I know that's been successful is what you said. I'm not giving up and I'm very persistent. And then you end up getting 3 great offers, and it brings you to what? A choice. And I love choices. When we feel we have choices, we feel empowered, right?
Yes, exactly.
I love that. The other struggle that I read that you had was when you started your blog and your YouTube channel. And this is such a common thing that I think the audience will really, really connect with you on, is your struggle was wondering what people would think about what you're doing and saying on YouTube and on your social media. So there was like sort of doubts and insecurities there.
Mm-hmm. Yes, there were a lot of insecurities. Because basically starting my own YouTube channel and blog, it was never in my plan. Like never, 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 never. And then I don't know why suddenly I was speaking to my sister, and she was talking about creating a blog. And then I was like, you know what? Maybe that could be something that I could be good at. And I remember one of my goals was, being able to write properly. So I started with the blog, and I realized it was a lot of work, especially like creating your own website, making it nice. And initially, I remember that when I created my blog, I never put my picture. I never told who I was, because that was my concern. Like my concern was that people would find me. And it took me a couple of months to get comfortable with that. It took me a couple of months, like after speaking to many people, that they were saying that, if you're ever a business or if you want people to know you, it's important that you put your picture. And then I started to put my picture on my blog. And after that, actually, there was a friend of mine who has her own company, and she also has her YouTube channel. And she invited me to go on her channel to talk about, study tips and stuff like that. So I was like, you know what, let's do it. I'm going to come to your YouTube channel. It's going to be my first time, like, being in front of a camera. And it made me really, really conscious that, this video would be up on YouTube. And I remember doing this video with her, recording this video. Then she posted the video everywhere on her platform. She put it on YouTube. And after looking at myself, I was like, why was I even nervous? Like, like, what was I worried about? And that's when it started. Like, that's when I started to realize how much I actually enjoyed being on YouTube. That I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna create my own channel. It's free. I can say whatever I want. And you know what? People will always have something to say no matter what. So I try not to like pay attention to what people say. And I've been getting very good feedback from people that follow me. So that makes me really happy and fulfilled.
I love that. I love that. And I can completely relate. That's how I started the whole life coaching journey and writing books and all that. I started with a blog and it was just like asking, or it was reviewing restaurants and travel and just this little tiny piece of my universe. And I thought, hey, if someone wants a deal on this or if they like the food, it's so I just you tickle me so much. My heart is happy because you figured out exactly what I figured out, where it was like, I just have to do it. I just have to shoot my shot and I have to get over myself. And it's so cool to be on the other side to say, I would rather do it than regret not doing it and never knowing how it could be. And
Yes.
I love that you said the same thing. You saw that video of yourself and you were like, what the heck was I nervous about? And now when you do your blog, there's, like you said, there's always going to be critics, but who cares? Because you're going to have one critic to 100 people that love you. And we're going to focus on the 100 that love us, and we're not going to care about the one critic. And that's being mindful, right?
Exactly, exactly. And I remember like my concerns were also about, am I getting across many people? Am I gonna get subscribers or not? Am I gonna get followers? And I remember initially that was my concern, but then I was like, you know what? It doesn't really matter. I think whoever needs me, they will find me, and I was like, subscribers will increase from there if it has to. And when I started with YouTube, which was pretty much a few months ago, it was not that long ago. I was like, I'm just gonna try and see what it brings me. And I remember telling one of my closest friends, I was like, oh, you know what? I only have 25 subscribers, and today I already reached 300 and more. So, which is good because I was like, I still made progress, little progress, but I made them, and it's important that I'm able to get my message, whatever I know, to everyone in this world, and that makes me really, really happy.
I love that. And we have to start somewhere, right? We're not celebrities. We're not the Kardashians. We can't start off with a million subscribers. I mean, I just started the podcast a few weeks ago, or maybe a week ago, and it's going to blow up. It's going to blow up. Everyone has had great feedback and we're on every platform. So I have one thing I've learned is build it and they will come, and it's quality over quantity. As long as if we don't focus on the numbers, but we focus on the value of the message, that's when it blows up. And that's what matters to me. If one person hears Urmi speaking today and they change their life and they call her and they get some financial guidance, or they empower themselves as women to go into a field that's predominantly men, then we have done our job, right?
Yes, exactly. That exactly my point. And if you like ever watch any of my videos, I don't put that much editing. I just make sure that whatever I'm saying, it's quality content, so that at least people will find it useful. And that has been my main target, because I'm still learning and still trying to understand how things work. But as long as I'm consistent with the job, as long as I'm consistent with them, with my posting, that's enough. I just want to make sure that I'm getting my stuff out there and I'm just consistent. That's it.
That's right. And people love authenticity.
Mm-hmm.
And, I struggle with technology. Everyone that knows me knows that. And I've started reframing my verbiage on that, saying I'm getting better at technology, and I really am. But things are going to go wrong. People's systems their laptop's not going to be compatible. And I've learned, one of my guests that I've had on already, she's amazing. She's so patient. She's going, just breathe, just breathe. It's going to be fine. Whatever happens, it's going to be fine. And I did. I just was like, you know what? This is going to be fun. And I'm just going to be authentically myself. And I say this in every podcast, my vibe brings my tribe. People who feel my authenticity are going to love it. And if they don't, then they're just going to move on. So I'm totally good with that.
Mm-hmm.
So we talked about the struggle of and the exhausting rejection of that year during pandemic. So tell us, and not only just in that area, but in any struggle in your life, like do you think your childhood had any bearing on the view that you have about being a feminist now? Do you think that influenced you?
Yes, it did. It did a lot. And I would say it was more because of the culture that I was growing up. So as you gave in your little introduction about me, I always tell people that I am Bengali by blood and Italian by birth, and that's because I was born and raised in Italy, and my parents are both from Bangladesh. And I pretty much struggle a little bit with my own identity because when I was surrounded with my Italian friends, I always felt like I was an outsider. But I also felt I was an outsider in my own household because when I was with my parents, because of the way I used to think, I always felt like I was not belonging too much to the Bengali community. And then when I was around my Italian friends, I felt like I was not Italian enough, especially because I was so much concerned that I don't look Italian. And one of the things is that in the South Asian community, like the Bengali, Indian, Pakistani community, usually what happens is that women are seen as more like a financial burden, or sometimes people just give them away in marriages, and women are seen to carry certain function in the household and things like that, which is why I think it shaped me to be a feminist, which is why I fight for, women's empowerment. I support these causes because I think as a woman, we all should have the freedom to choose what we want to do with our life, with also simple things such as, saying whatever you want to say, dressing the way makes you feel comfortable and not just doing what the society tells you to do. And because of that, I think I'm very much feminist, but I think anyone can be a feminist. You don't like, even men can be feminist as well.
Ooh, you hear that? Do you hear that, listeners? Men can be feminists too. Oh, she said so much there that I love. Culture has so much to do with how we our first most impressionable years growing up in our households with our families, that culture of how women are viewed, how men are viewed. I know in my household, there was definitely a double standard. We had to do all the girly chores, and my brother just had to take out the garbage. We had to do
Mhm.
all the housework. What I love that you said is so cool. You said, I had a little identity crisis because I felt like an outsider in on both sides of who I am. So as far as the Bengali you felt, I don't think like they do. As far as the Italian, I don't look like they do. Wow. Gosh. I mean, think about that, listeners. Think about what a scary place that must have been for Urmi to be caught in the middle of where do I belong? And what she found was, I'm going to do it my way, and I'm going to choose my words. I'm going to choose who I love. I'm going to choose how I think. She said something so important there. You said women were seen as financial burdens. And
Mhm.
then you choose to go to university and be a financial master. So it's almost, does it to you, does it feel like a little bit of a rebellion? Like, I'm not a financial burden, I'm a financial guru. What do you mean?
Yes, yes, I do agree with what you said, and you know what, actually made me realize that indirectly I was a rebel because I never thought about it like that until you just mentioned it. Honestly, I it never came across my mind that I was actually a rebel because I never really was, and never really, I'm not really like a rebellious woman, but I do like to like, now that you mention it, I kind of like it. And yes, and to like get back to your point, the problem is I also struggled a little bit when I used to like with this whole identity crisis and because of the cultural differences, I also went to think that probably I was not normal to feel like that, because there were people around me that were, I felt they were not going through the same struggle, honestly. Like that was another thing that I always thought maybe it's just me who's like thinking like that. But then as I grew up and as I started to like educate myself, and also when I moved to Canada, I started to see that there are actually other people like me, and I met other people going through the same struggle. So it kind of made me also less lonely, because in my mind when I was thinking about this whole struggle, I also used to feel very, very lonely, and I tried to like shut down all these thoughts that, it's probably not true, but in reality they were very, very much true. But I'm lucky now that I can finally tell everyone that I am Italian Bengali, because I do embrace both of them, and they're still both part of my identity, because I do feel very much Italian as much as I do feel very much Bengali. And
Yeah.
yeah, and yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I think that's amazing how you've embraced both of them now, but you also said, for a time there, I was lonely because I thought it was all me. I thought it was my problem for feeling lonely or feeling as an outsider. And then this is why this podcast, I love telling stories, because you said when you went to Canada, suddenly you saw others who felt the same way, and then you didn't feel so alone. I
Mm-hmm.
love that. So, who helped you through? Who helped you through this? Did you have a good circle, a good support system? Who were the people that helped you, or did you do it all on your own?
I would say it was a little bit of both. It was a little bit of myself, as a little bit of my circle, because I do have a very good circle of trusted friends. And I remember just speaking about it and asking them like, is this normal that I feel like this? So they sort of like guided me, but they also told me that, it's something that you also have to figure out yourself, and you probably just take time. And it was only recently that I came to like tell everyone that I am Italian Bengali. Like when I say recently, was into 2 years ago. And the reason why I was like, I do need to find my identity was because, especially in Canada, when people would speak to me and they would ask me where I was from, I really, really struggled to find an answer, because I was like, do I say I'm Bengali or do I say I'm Italian? And I remember like when I would say I'm Bengali, people would just look at me and be like, oh, but you have such a strong Italian accent when you speak English. So how is that? So then I had to like spend 5 minutes explaining the whole history. And
Oh,
then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna change the answer and say I'm from Italy. And then they will look at me and be like, but hold on a second, how come you do not look Italian? And that's when I was like, you know what? This is not good. I have to find an answer. So then I would say it was like a lot of self exploration, a lot of understanding myself, and I had to do a lot of it also by myself, just trying things out, seeing what I like, seeing what I do not like, and then just coming just coming to a conclusion. And there are so many things, for instance, when it comes to my Italian culture, is that I love pasta. Like pasta is my oxygen. But at the same but at the same time, I also love wearing like Bengali clothes. So that's when I was like, I don't have to tell people that I'm fully Bengali or that I'm fully Italian. I'm just gonna say I'm a little bit of both, and they have to be okay with it without questioning it. And now I just like, I'm very firm about it. When they ask me where I'm from, I just say directly I'm Bengali Italian, so they don't question it at all. And it was a lot of work that I had to do by myself, a lot of thinking, a lot of trying out new things, exploration, I would say. And that's when I finally came to a conclusion.
yes, you found confidence in your answer, what worked for you. And I find it a shame because obviously I'm from Arizona and I'm from the United States. Nobody says to me, what are you? I think
Mm-hmm.
it's so unfair when you're from other countries that we go, what are you? Or because you have brown skin. It's so unfair to have to, like, who are we to ask, what are you? You know what my answer to that is? Human. There's your answer.
Yeah.
Forget your Bengali Italian. You don't owe anybody anything. I'm human, just like you. That's your
Mhm.
answer. But I love that you found your confidence and you found the answer through your own self exploration that made you most confident. You don't have to explain yourself. You are fabulous and beautiful, and there's no reason people need to go further with, well, I don't get it, you don't look this way. Who cares? We are I have to tell a cute story. I was at the store getting school supplies for my grandson the other day, and they have crayons now that are in a pack of skin colors, all different skin colors. And I was so excited when I saw that. I said, I have got to get some of those for my grandbabies. Finally, we're embracing that skin comes in many, many different colors. So
Mhm.
isn't that a neat thing? So kudos to Crayola. I'll give them a shout out. They were kind of a little pricey, but you know what? Worth it because I support that cause. So your question or your answer about pasta, which is oxygen. So at the end of every podcast, and we're not there yet, we've got some time. I always ask a question, and I think I know now what yours is going to be. But guys, I have a fun fact about Miss Urmi, and guess what? She sounds like she's very quiet, and she sounds like she can't get very aggressive. But guess what? She practices boxing. Yes, boxing. I would love to see you in a ring. How is that boxing for you? How's that coming along?
It so this boxing thing, it literally started, I would say, a month ago, but it was something that has been in my mind for a while. And I know that when something is in my mind for a while, it just means that I have to go and try it out.
Yeah.
And so I do boxing and I do Muay Thai. So they're very similar, like in terms of technique. And I started attending all those classes, I would say a month ago. And I remember loving it. It was love at first sight when I tried the class. Like because basically I went to a class that was just for women and I loved the whole like vibe there, and I felt the strength of the woman there. Like I felt there was a good, like, women's empowerment type of thing, like each other, like each woman empowering each other, and I kind of really liked it. And I remember after trying a few classes, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna sign up. And I was not just doing this for like I don't practice boxing to lose weight or things like that, because I actually don't care. I do it just to be fit, and I just do it also for my own mental health, which is important to take care of. And it really really helps me to release my stress, and I do feel much stronger. Like I feel much more confident each time when I go there. And when I'm kicking or punching, I just like doing, like, I really like doing that. And never I would have thought I would have done boxing, but I was always a very sports person. Like I used to do cross training. I used to do boot camp. So, and then I was like, you know what, I just want to change it up a little bit. And I just came across boxing, and I really really love it. And people there are super nice, very welcoming, and I think every woman needs to learn a little bit of self-defense.
Yes, yes, I completely agree with you. And I love it so much because the things that you named off that are beneficial are mental health, and it gave you confidence. To me, I always let my clients know you need a physical outlet. I don't care if you're walking, you're running, you're lifting weights, you're boxing, because if we don't get that outlet, it will come out in other physical ways, which is health and, not feeling well. So I think it's just all encompassing. And what's funny is what you said was, I would never have thought I'd like it. And so, AKA, I never knew I'd like
Eh,
boxing. So
exactly. Agreed. Agreed.
I I love that. I absolutely love that, and I agree. And what I hear in you, Ermi, throughout your whole entire story is you're not afraid to try something once. You always give it a shot, and that sounds like the thread of your entire life that you keep living by, and you find happiness that way.
Yes. Yes. I want to say, Well, I want to say like to live on the edge, although I don't know if that's the correct way to say it, but I do like to try new things out. And I'm very curious as a person, and I try to follow my curiosity. So when I'm very curious about things, I'm just like, I'm gonna try it. It's just gonna be something good out of it will come out. I know that. So I try to also like follow my gut, and everything that I did so far just turned out to be great, really great.
Wow. Did you hear that, listeners? She said, everything I've tried so far has turned out to be great. That's a big statement because there's a lot of things I've tried that did not turn out very great. But you are definitely an inspiration to women, to young girls, to anyone who feels culturally stuck or in a cage. I just think you're such an inspiration and for an aspiration. And these are the reasons why I have these amazing storytelling, beautiful guests that I have on here. So I want to ask you, so we have about a little bit of time left. So I wanted to ask you if if you can name one thing that you never knew that you could tell your younger self, what would that one thing be?
I would say rejections are redirections.
Oh, rejection is redirection. Ooh, I like that.
Yeah,
What is it?
yeah.
What did it teach you? What is rejection, redirection? What does that mean?
I think for me, it really much applies when it comes to, choices that I made with my career and looking for a job. Because especially like this year when I was looking for a job, I got rejected many, many times. But it was just a good thing, honestly, because as I was getting rejected, I was getting a lot more clarity about where I wanted to work, what I wanted to do. And for instance, I have applied to small and bigger firms, and I started to realize that when I was getting rejected, I did not really wanted to work in a smaller firm. Or for instance, there were companies there where there was not that much diversity or representation, and I was like, I don't know if I want to work there. So it just gave me a lot more clarity when I started to get rejected, because I started to understand really what I wanted to do, and it just turned out to be a good thing at the end. Sometimes we feel very demotivated and discouraged when we do not get something at the first shot, but it's everything has a meaning. Like the reason why we get rejected, the reason why things do not turn out to be good is because there's something better waiting for you out there, whether it's at work, whether it is in a relationship or any sort of thing. It just means that something better is waiting for you out there, basically.
I love that. So if I were hypothetically, I were in a moment where I'm getting rejected and I'm feeling really down on myself, but this is what I really, really want. Should I hyper focus on getting this thing that I want, or should I be open to other options? And how do I do that? How do I focus on other things if I really want this one thing and I'm getting rejected?
Um, how do I focus in this one thing and I get rejected, right? Uh, it's um it's tough to say, but I would say like the way I did it is that, it just takes time. Everything has a process, and everything is a trial and error. Like you cannot have everything done overnight. And I think you also have to try to understand like, what is going on, like why am I getting rejected, what's wrong with, probably it's my resume, or probably it's the way I am approaching to people, probably it's the way I'm being exposed to a potential employer. So that's where you have to like really try to think about yourself, try to really reflect on what's going on to really fix that particular thing that is not allowing you what you want to get. And it takes a lot of persistence, and when I say a lot of persistence, it's because I really, really mean it. And I can tell you that this place that I'll be working for, it took me 6 years to get into the place. It was my dream job since I was in university, and I graduated 6 years ago. And it took me a lot of persistence. I tried to get the education that I needed to work there, I tried to get all the skills needed to go there. So when this opportunity came, I was just like, you know what, it takes a lot of work, or like hard work. But eventually, once you're persistent, once you have a goal, once you do the right thing, take the right steps, it will come to you.
I love what you said there. Persistence and 6 years. 6 years. You said to trust the process. And that, I
Yeah.
think, as humans, is one of the things that we have some problems with is the impatience. It's, I
Yeah.
want it, I want it, and I want it now, and I expect it in a year. And I'm all about manifesting things and having a vision, but there's also those moments where it's just not meant for you yet. I always tell my
Mm-hmm.
clients, add the
Mm-hmm.
yet on. But 6 years, guys, of her wanting this dream
Mm-hmm.
job, and you persisted. And I love what you said is it what you were asking yourself, you didn't blame anybody, like, well, I'm not
No.
getting this job because it's somebody else's fault. What you said was, what is this teaching me? What am I
Mm-hmm.
doing that I need to learn from? How can I be better? And I love that. As I think, anyone who is self-aware and working on their self-awareness and self-help has to really be open to looking at what they are doing. What am I doing that can be fixed? So I just I love that you said that. 6 years. That is,
Yes.
you are one patient girl. That's not my forte. I'm like, hey, I want this in a year. If I don't get it, I'm gonna have to just shift and pivot over to something else. So good for you. So to close this out, here's my question that I ask every guest. What is your shameless self-indulgence? We know pasta so far. What else besides your oxygen pasta is your shameless self-indulgence?
Chocolate. It's so good. It's so good. Oh my gosh. It's so good, chocolate. I love chocolate. I love the Kinder, the brand Kinder.
Oh
It's
yes.
it's the best. It's the best.
I lived in Germany for 4 years,
Oh my
and
gosh.
the Kinder bars, I remember
Yeah.
we would give them to my little girl, and now they have them in the world markets, which is
Yes.
super cool. Here in America, they have
Yes.
the whole shelf full of
Yes.
Kinder chocolate. So, all right, we got a pasta and chocolate
Yeah.
self-indulgence. What about chocolate covered pasta?
You know what? I'm an Italian, so if you tell me that, it's when people put ketchup in the pasta, that's one thing that I don't like. Or when people put pineapple in the pasta, I'm not in the pasta, in the pizza, I'm like, nope. That like, I feel like my eyes are bleeding when I see that. Literally, I'm like, no, 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 that's so wrong. That should not be even legal, honestly.
Do you hear that? Do you hear that, my listeners? Do not put ketchup in your pasta and do not put pineapple on your pizza. I do it, so I'll make sure I'll make sure she has a blindfold on while I'm eating my pizza, because we don't know good food sometimes here, at least some of the better ethnic foods, I would say. Well, Urmi, I can say you are such a joy, and I am so appreciative of you being a guest today. I think we had a wonderful talk, and I think our listeners are going to get a lot of great tidbits out of all this wisdom that you shared with us with your story. And I just wish you the best, and I'm just so grateful that we crossed paths today to have this conversation.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I enjoyed the conversation a lot as well.
Thank you. And everybody, I'm going to let Urmi tell you where to find her. Tell them what your YouTube channel is and your blog, which I did say earlier, but just in case they weren't here, tell them where to find you.
Yes. So I have my YouTube channel. It's called Urmi Hossain. And I'm also on LinkedIn. I'm very much easily reachable there. It's called, again, Urmi Hossain. And I also have my blog. It's called myways.ca. So you can find me in any of this platform, and if you message me or if you comment anything, I will be very happy to answer you back.
Sure, I can believe that. She's so personable and so sweet, and she's paying attention to those numbers, guys. So you guys go over there and you boost those numbers for her. I'm going to spell her name for you guys. So when you go to LinkedIn and you do go to YouTube to find her, it's URMI, M as in Mary, I, and her last name is HOSSAIN. So that way you can find her and support her and go find out how to give a good toast, because that's really, really important. All right, honey, you have a wonderful night, and I'm so grateful to have you here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to the I Never Knew podcast. If you found today's episode inspiring and educational, please be sure to follow, subscribe, and spread the word. The more people that join the Inc. community, the more it can develop and influence others as we work together for a healthier and brighter future. Until next time.